3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, I'm Georgia Lyons, and this is Intros. And today on the show, I have the wonderful Blake joining me.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
No, you're welcome.
I first met you at a Spotify party. I feel like we had such a great conversation, and I walked away and felt so inspired by your hustle.
Oh, thank you.
How did you get to where you are now?
I would say I've probably had a less conventional path in music. Well, I don't think a conventional path really exists, but I started music really as a top-line writer in drum and bass, and I did that in the UK for 3-ish years. So it was cool because I got to work with some pretty experienced producers, and I think just refining my craft and hearing my voice in a recorded context and it being released and kind of getting that experience. My passion in music's always been pop music, so I came back to New Zealand at the end of 2020 and decided to really just focus on developing my craft further in pop, and have been really fortunate to get some great support here and just been putting some releases out, and that's kind of where I'm at now, just focusing on my own project.
One of the things I've really noticed about you is your online presence is amazing.
I think like most artists, I've been very conflicted about social media, and these very staunch periods of just total, I just don't want to do that, and it's too much admin, and I just want to do the music. But I've just kind of had a mentality shift in the last few months, which is I believe in the music I'm making, and if I do one post or one upload of me singing my song or talking about my song, and it reaches one new person, and that person finds my music on Spotify or wherever, and they like it and they become a listener, then that's a win. Just seeing if someone likes or comments on your post, that's a human. Whereas I think we dehumanize just like the numbers.
But we forget that there's another person on the other side of that.
If you upload a reel and you get 1,000 views, like if you imagine 1,000 people in a room watching you, that's amazing. But we don't deem 1,000 views to be that great of an achievement.
And I really love as well with your social media, you're really honest. It's super refreshing. Like looking at how, vulnerable and how open and honest you are with your experience with releasing music, with your wins, the things that you're like, man, that really sucked. Yeah. And I think like it's refreshing as an artist, but as like another person coming across your profile and you as a human being and going, she's struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with.
Very rarely have met any musician that's their journey's been fully glossy and perfect and amazing. I just try to be as authentic. I hate using that word because it's so overused.
This is the perfect use for that word right now, though.
Yeah, I just want to actually show people what I'm doing and who I am. And if people connect with that or feel like they themselves can be themselves because of me expressing my vulnerabilities, then that for me is like really cool because I don't think we should all have to pretend like our lives are amazing all the time. And I think that's a lot of the reason that we have such a failing in mental health and everything, because everyone feels like they can only portray this great life that they have, but it's not real. And it puts pressure on everyone else around you to be perfect as well.
So this previous year, 2022, you released a song, and you also, at the same time, a few days later, you posted, I guess, your experience of what had kind of been unfolding for you the last few days. Super raw, super honest, and really brave, I think, what you shared. Can you just talk a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, so basically I released an EP at the end of last year, and the build-up had been amazing, and I had checked all the boxes, I had all the PR and the social media and blah, 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 blah. And then it came to release day, and you're always refreshing Spotify to see what playlist you've landed on, and it's just so much anxiety.
Refreshing the emails, like getting up early, all of that. Yeah.
The song didn't do as well as I had hoped, the new song that was coming onto the project. Yeah, it was just like a very anticlimactic experience for me. And I think it's because my expectations were really, really high, which is normal, especially when you've put so much work and effort into something. But yeah, I just felt like I had to write down what I was actually feeling, because I think majority of artists probably feel the same way when they put a song out, because you've put so much time, energy, money, emotional energy. You've put everything into this, creating this thing.
Yeah.
And then when you put it out on a platform, the value is no longer derived by your internal value of it. It's suddenly the value is derived by Spotify, essentially, or the playlisting or the streaming numbers.
You know, for me, learning like you can only control what you can control. Like so much of that is out of, you know, our hands as an artist. Like I can't control whether or not Spotify puts my song on a playlist, or I make New Music Friday, or I don't, or I get 100 streams in a week, or I get 10,000. Like it's a hard, really harsh reality when you want something that you've created and poured everything into, and it doesn't do what you want it to do. Like it's difficult.
I think as well, just like transitioning your mentality away from trying to appease the industry and actually just connecting with people. Because I feel like, for me, a part of the reason why I felt so deflated was because the lead up to that, I had like an interview on The Edge, I had like in one news interview, I had Sniffers blog coverage, I had, in terms of New Zealand PR, like...
It was all going.
It was all going, right? So then when that happened, I just sat down and actually just reevaluated everything. And I was like, actually, I haven't been spending enough time just actually developing relationships with people, like new followers or new listeners. And that's kind of what I've been doing now. And I guess why I've been focusing more on creating content that just shares who I am.
And I love that that's the place that it came from, in terms of you going, look, this is the reality. I feel super gutted. Like no one talks like that, and it was just super refreshing as another artist to go, oh, you've just said how I've just experienced my release a few months back, but I didn't say anything about it. So I think, you know, so brave of you. Mental health is obviously a massive thing connected in with so many artists. How do you navigate looking after your well-being as a human being?
I think I just really prioritise my health. Meditation's been amazing. Just catching myself when I get into the negative downward spiral. And if I just feel like I'm in a rut, if I'm trying to work on something and it's just not going anywhere, just going and doing something else and coming back to it.
Obviously, a part of intros, I get to have these conversations with other artists. Is there an artist for you that you'd like to shout out to make us aware of?
Heavy Chest is a band I've been really into. They've got really great music. Macy.
Yes.
Love his songwriting. And Rita May.
Amazing.
Has to be Rita May.
Great. Great people. So you're performing for us today a song of yours that you released last year called You Don't Decide.
Yes.
Tell me about that song. What is it about?
Do you want the truth, or do you want the
Always the
washed over?
truth.
Okay. So I wrote this song in London 2020, and I was dating this guy, and he was just a piece of work. And he basically pressured me into having unprotected sex one night. And afterwards, I just felt so gross. And just, I think there's so many situations where you just go with the flow because you don't want to ruin the moment or make someone feel uncomfortable. But then, yeah, I just felt so awful about it. And then he kept, like, he knew, like, it was wrong, like, because he kept apologising to me afterwards. But then I just stopped talking to him, but I kept getting texts from him being just really nice.
You're like,
and I was just thinking, you're not messaging me because you care about me. You're messaging me because you're trying to make yourself feel better about what you've done and try and get my, like, reinforcement that you're still a good person, essentially. Yes. But it wasn't coming from a place of compassion or care. And that's what the song's about.
Obviously, being vulnerable is a really hard thing to do. I mean, maybe people find that easy. I don't find it easy being vulnerable, but really appreciate you being vulnerable with me, obviously with the audience, especially with something that is really hard to walk through.
No worries.
Thanks for sharing. How do you find being an independent artist as a female in a male-dominated industry?
The key thing for me is just to be surrounding myself with people that I know are good people and trust. And I feel like because I had so many really awful interactions in the UK with, like, senior men in labels, that I now have got thicker skin for it. So I'm, like, quite rarely fazed by any kind of situation. So for that, I'm actually really grateful. But yeah, in terms of dealing with it, I would just say make sure that you have good people around you. And if something feels a bit weird, just say, actually, I'm just going to leave this situation and go. Or if someone's being intense and asking you heaps of questions and you don't have someone there to help you answer these questions, and just say, actually, I'm not comfortable talking about this right now. I'm just going to leave, and we can pick this up on email, or we can pick this up when I've got my manager with me, or I've got somebody with me, just to have that extra support with you.
Even if you don't have a manager, like a friend or a parent, you know, just for like younger artists. Because like you were saying earlier when you were talking about the song, it's like, you know, you can find yourselves in these situations where, you know, as a female, you feel maybe uncomfortable making another person feel uncomfortable. And so therefore you end up having to
kind of shrivel yourself down to make someone else feel comfortable, even though the irony is that they're making you feel uncomfortable.
Totally. And I think that's a massive thing. You know, I've navigated, you know, many moments like in the industry in terms of just finding my voice and going, I feel too nervous to say what I think right now because you're older or you're, you know, you've been around a lot longer than I have, and so maybe my opinion doesn't matter. Thank you so much for being here today, for sharing once again so vulnerably. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
It's refreshing. It's really refreshing. I feel like we've done a lot of high fives, but
I did that was lazy of me. I was just like,
there we go.
I see you checking in. What's the reasoning? You never seemed to care before. Present your words to me, packaged as empathy. I wasn't born the day before. And did the guilt just get too much? You come to me for reassurance that you're still a great person. Well, I owe you none. Ooh, it's not right, it's not right. You don't decide, so why? Did I let you change my mind? Oh, it's not right, it's not right. You don't decide, so why? Did I let you change my mind? So much I've conceded, forgot what I needed. You always seem to get your way. I left your message on blue, and I owe nothing to you. Frankly, there's nothing left to say. Oh, indeed, the guilt just get too much. You come to me for reassurance that you're still a great person. Well, I owe you none. Ooh, and it's not right, it's not right. You don't decide, so why? Did I let you change my mind? Oh, it's not right, it's not right. You don't decide, so why? Did I let you change my mind? Ooh, change my mind. Ooh, oh, it's not right, it's not right. You don't decide, so why? Did I let you change my mind? Oh, it's not right, it's not right. You don't decide, so why? Did I let you change my mind?